accelerate conversations around how to really fast-track investment projects that are green in nature. And we know that the green ambition will not be won by conversations, it will be won by investment. So we must finance them, we must scale them up, we must make center stage those deals in what we do. And because mine is just to welcome you, and it's a very short session, allow me, because some of you are here for the first day today, but you haven't been with us for the last 2 days, to invite you to just join us briefly, to show you what we showed everybody on the first and the second days, a short story about the investment landscape in the Republic of Kenya. I thank you.
Kenya, the largest economy in East and Central Africa and the 6th largest on the African continent, offers investors a stable market growing at a rate of 5% annually. This isn't just a place to pause. Eco-lodges to electric vehicles, Kenya is redefining sustainable living at scale. From all corners of our country to the region's capital, our road, rail, and air networks connect businesses to opportunities. This is Africa's Silicon Savannah. On the continent, across special economic zones and industrial parks with progressive fiscal benefits, opportunities scale fast. Invest in Kenya for clear incentives, investor protection, and a robust legal framework. Our greatest strength is our people, young, skilled, visionary. They are not waiting for the future. They are building it every day in every corner of our land. Home to more than 300 multinationals and growing, and the only United Nations headquarters in the Global South, including UNEP, Kenya stands as the environmental capital of the world. We are predictable, competitive, and open for business. Kenya offers high quality of life, vibrant cities, world-class hospitality, and extraordinary natural landscapes. A place where global talent can live, work, and belong. Kenya is where Africa's industrial growth takes shape. If you are looking for scale, speed, certainty, and a gateway to Africa's fastest growing markets, invest in Kenya, because the future is already here.
Leaves little wonder as to why we have the Kenya International Investment Conference 2026 being hosted right here. And to the Kenya Investment Authority and team, well done for this initiative. And today's initiative is centering on the Africa Green Industrialization Initiative. And just to contextualize today's conversation, because that's going to be the main focus, I'll call on Ms. Elizabeth Press, the Director of Accelerated Partnerships for Renewables in Africa. That is APRA, an implementation office she represents, and she's going to be talking about harnessing Africa's, as she takes the stage, please give her a hand, harnessing Africa's renewables for industrialization. Karim.
Thank you very much, Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy to be here, and I want to tell you a story. But before I do that, I just want to check, is this the PowerPoint?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So energy is rarely the most glamorous topic in the room. We really don't think about it very much, except for the small percentage of us who work here. But it becomes a very big issue when the price jumps, when shipment is delayed, the lights go out, transport costs rise, food becomes more expensive, and suddenly energy is all that anybody talks about. So today's discussion will be about how we harness renewable energy for industrialization. And I want to put a global context before you, give you a few numbers to try to understand where the world is going, how Africa fits in, and how we in Kenya can actually harness this opportunity. So this story will be in 3 slides. The first slide is about direction. So the global power mix is changing, and you can see it like this is about 20 years. We still don't have a 2025 numbers. They will come out soon, but the trajectory will not change. In 2024, we had more than 90% of capacity added from renewables. And when you look at the trajectory, you can see how the early climate policy changed the way the things moved. But once, when the cost of renewable technologies went down, once when technologies improved, and when the greater understanding was gained how renewable energy are not just about the capacity, but also about the job creation, economic development, and energy security, the markets took over. So now this trend is actually unstoppable. And if you're like me, you actually don't know what a gigawatt is. I really struggle with conceptualizing what a gigawatt was. So I put these numbers on the side to show you what this 2024 means in the global context. So we had about 9,300 gigawatt of power capacity globally, the entire world. And you can see that renewable energy made up almost half of it. The other half is the fossil fuels and nuclear capacity combined. So what matters with this slide is it shows us well where the world is going. The renewable energy trend is increasingly shaping decisions about power system, industrial location, long-term investment, and economic resilience. So the second slide is about scale. The shift is real. We saw it in numbers, but it is highly concentrated. A relatively small number of countries are actually building out renewable capacity at extraordinary speed. Also we see the scale, and the scale really matters because it shapes supply chains, it shapes costs, it shapes where industries choose to locate. So this slide is less about the capacity, but more about the advantage that is currently accumulating. And I have to say, every year when I get an update on these numbers, there's a level of anger in me when I see how small the circle on Africa is. So the world is like on over 4,000 gigawatts, and Africa, with its immense potential, has 67 gigawatts. Just think about the first slide in 9,000 something that we have, 67 gigawatts. So, and we cannot think about it just in terms of electricity, because we know 600 million people on this continent don't have energy. And we often hear this number, but think about that's like 1.5 times the size of Europe. It is an enormous amount of people, individuals who don't have these opportunities. And it's not just about turning the light on, it's about productive use, it's about everything else that comes with it. And I know that you understand all of this, but I always stop here because it's really astounding and motivating in some ways, because we actually can change this. So I want to go to the next slide, which is really what would these numbers mean in people's lives. Per capita capacity sounds a little bit technical, but in practice it tells us something very human. It gives us a sense how much of energy is available relative to the size of population and the needs of the economy. It speaks to jobs, transport, services, production, welfare, and the general ease or difficulty of life. So the story of these 3 slides is quite straightforward. They show the world is moving quickly in a new direction based on renewables. They show that scale is concentrated in a handful of places. And it shows that Africa has some work to do. So I'm sure that all of us are watching the news non-stop, because the energy is very much in the news nowadays. And I was trying to put another slide together, but I ran out of time. But I know the number. When you combine the imports of crude oil, LNG, LPG, and the refined products of oil and gas, 53 countries, African countries, are net importers. We are importing energy insecurity. We are importing things that we don't need because we have indigenous capability to change. So I'm hoping that today we will be able to take this to the next level and really consider how Africa's renewable base, which is immense, can be used to actually change this trajectory. And so next year when we come, maybe we're going to have a different number. Thank you so very much.
Asante Sana for laying that context. And now to follow on in the same breath and to start us off on a high-level opening forum on Africa's green industrialization imperative, I'll call on Ambassador Ali Mohammed, the Special Envoy for Climate Change, for his remarks. Let's give him a hand as he comes to stage.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the Deputy President of Kenya, the Ministers for Environment, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all thank my great friend, Elizabeth Press, for setting the stage so brilliantly and making our work for today easy. It's a pleasure to join you this morning for this important gathering of technologies, excuse me, to give the opening remarks for this Africa Green Industrialization Initiative Forum under the Kenya International Investment Conference 2026. Let me first of all begin by thanking my great friend, John Mwendwa, who has made and done an astounding job over the last few days in marketing our country. Over the past 2 days, we have explored Kenya's investment landscape. Today, as my friend Elizabeth has outlined, we bring that discussion into a broader continental frame, how green industrialization can support African growth, Africa's competitiveness, value addition, and Africa's economic resilience. It is definitely a very timely moment for that discussion. The global economy is being reshaped by geopolitical reorientation, climate pressures, energy insecurity, global transition to low-carbon economies, and race for clean technologies. Old assumptions about growth, competitiveness, and industrial locations are shifting. Countries are rethinking supply chains. Investors are rethinking risks. Industry is rethinking where future production will be anchored. And this presents a strategic opportunity for all countries, for Kenya and for Africa, to reposition ourselves. This is where Africa's Green Industrialization Initiative, in short called AGII, comes in. In 2023, His Excellency President Ruto, together with other African leaders, launched the Africa Green Industrialization Initiatives, a bold vision to drive investment in green sectors. Launched at a global climate summit, COP28 in Dubai, the initiative reflects a deeper reality that as climate risks intensify, resilience and efficiency are becoming economic priorities, with limited action reshaping global trade, finance, and industrial strategy. AGII is built on a clear proposition that Africa can industrialize differently, can build competitively, can move faster up the value chain, and can do so in a way that strengthens resilience and advances climate-positive growth. Working in tandem with another ambitious continental initiative, the Accelerated Partnership for Renewable Energies in Africa, that is led ably by Elizabeth Press, my great friend, AGI is helping bring together power, infrastructure, logistics, and industrial demand within a single framework so that industrialization is approached as a system rather than a collection of standalone projects. In fact, only last week, the World Bank published a new report reaffirming that industrial policy must once again be part of every country's national policy toolkit. This was a significant shift of the World Bank from decades of promoting liberalization, privatization, and integration into global value chains. This reflects a new global reality, one shaped by geopolitics, supply chain fragilities, technological race, and national security considerations. We all know that the current crisis around Iran and the Strait of Hormuz has exposed the fragility of systems built on imported hydrocarbons. When energy security depends on shipping lanes, choke points, and volatile commodity markets, every geopolitical shock becomes an economic shock. The whole world is today feeling that again now. But we also have the tools to change. Bloomberg recently noted that while Europe remains exposed on gas, its power system has become more resilient because a larger share of electricity now comes from renewables. And we've seen the global trend, almost equal, renewables and fossil fuels. This goes directly to competitiveness and energy security. The market trend is equally clear. As we heard from Elizabeth, renewables in 2005 supplied only 19% of global electricity. And last year, nearly half of installed global power capacity was renewables. This is not just an energy trend, it is the direction of the world economy. Capital is moving there, industry is moving there, and serious economies are moving there. And yet, Africa remains dramatically under-positioned. Today, the entire African continent has some 70, I think it was 74 on the screen, gigawatts of renewable power capacity. Compare that to China, which has about 1,800 gigawatts. Africa today, we know, has 1.5 billion people. China is comparable, about 1.5 billion people. So we are looking at a broadly comparable population scale and a completely different level of energy buildup. 30 years ago, China rose in the age of globalization. Africa's opening is different. Ours is being shaped by digitalization, renewable-based electrification, and climate resilience. That is the platform on which the next era of competitiveness will be built. This is why AGII matters. For decades, Africa has struggled with a simple but damaging disconnect. Energy projects without demand are difficult to finance. Industrial projects without reliable and affordable power are difficult to scale. The result is familiar: generation that does not unlock industry, an industry that does not compete because the power is too weak, too costly, or too uncertain. AGII is designed to solve and overcome that problem. Power is not treated in one silo, energy in another, and infrastructure somewhere in between. All are structured together. Industry demand is identified, connected to reliable clean power, aligned with logistics regulations, infrastructure, and offtake, moving from isolated projects to investable systems to reduce risk early. That is how green industrialization is becoming real, and it opens very concrete opportunities. Green fertilizer linked to agricultural transformation, mineral processing linked to dedicated clean power, data centers and digital infrastructure anchored in reliable electricity, green iron, and over time, hopefully, green steel, where Africa's resources base and renewable potential create a comparative advantage. Institutional clean cooking, where aggregated demand from schools, hospitals, and prisons can anchor local manufacturing, clean energy systems, and supply chains. These are industrial opportunities tied to real African demand and real global markets. And this is where the intra-Africa dimension becomes decisive. No serious green industrial strategy will be built on fragmented national markets. A product made with clean power in one African country should move competitively across the continent under rules that reward value addition and Africa production. Green ammonia, for example, produced in Kenya, should be able to reach Ghana, Malawi, Zambia, and other countries in the continent within a continental market architecture that supports industrial growth. Green industrialization at scale will depend on intra-Africa trade, regional value chains, and the ability of countries to specialize and trade with one another. That is why the institutional foundation matters so much. Following the second Africa Climate Summit that was held last September in Addis Ababa, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area was given the green light to establish the AGII Secretariat here in Nairobi. And African development finance institutions and leading banks committed to mobilize at least US $100 billion in support of this agenda. That sends an important signal. African institutions are prepared to invest in African industrial future. Good progress is being made to close the persistent gap between policy ambition and practical implementation, aligning policy, infrastructure, and finance to support bankable, investment-ready opportunities, policies that promote shift from simply trading with Africa to co-building with Africa. Encouragingly, we are already seeing signs of this shift. Several African countries are adopting policies, including measures to retain more values from their resources. Since 2023, when AGII was launched, at least 13 countries have introduced export restrictions on key minerals to support domestic value addition. And governments and subnational entities are mobilizing capital through innovative approaches such as green and sustainable bonds to finance climate-resilient infrastructure. Your Excellency, the Deputy President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, just to emphasize again, Africa does not lack opportunity, and we've had that severally here. Africa does not lack capital in any absolute sense. What Africa lacks too often is a sufficient, strong pipeline of well-prepared, investment-ready, and bankable projects. That is the real bottleneck. And that is why AGI matters so much. By developing clusters, aligning public and private actors, connecting demand to power, and helping structure projects from the start, it works on the exact point where too many African opportunities are still lost. Kenya is well placed to help lead this effort. We are not only part of the African opportunity, we are in fact hosting that opportunity. AGI is hosted here, ready to scale it and to deliver it. Kenya, as we've heard, offers the cleanest and most reliable power systems globally, a growing ecosystem in electric mobility, clean cooking, and sustainable agriculture, a credible framework for high-integrity carbon markets, and a strategic gateway to the continental market and AfCFTA. This week's discussions have shown that opportunities are plentiful. They are investable. They range from industrial clusters to clean cooking, from fertilizer to digital infrastructure, from regional logistics to value-added processing. The question now is delivery. Competitiveness will depend on speed, clarity, and consistency in regulations, in infrastructure, in logistics, in trade facilitation, and in the quality of project preparation. Capital, of course, responds to confidence, and confidence comes from execution. So the message to our investors is straightforward. Africa's green industrial opportunity is real. It is growing. And in many sectors, the first mover advantage is still available. The geopolitical case is strong. The renewable-based energy security argument is clearer. African institutions have already shown that they are ready to commit serious capital. Now we need to match that commitment with implementation. The Nairobi Declaration, adopted by African leaders in 2023 during our first inaugural Africa Climate Summit, embraced the vision of climate-positive growth and set a target of 300 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. But that target was never only about closing the energy gap. It was about laying the foundation for competitiveness, for industrialization, and for greater resilience across our economies and communities. We hope that this KICO convening will strengthen the partnerships required and bring realization of this agenda. I thank you once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Ali Mohammed, for your remarks. And right next, I'd like to call from the Deputy High Commissioner's Office, Diana Dalton, and she's also in charge of development within the British High Commission here in Kenya. Let's give her a hand.
Start by acknowledging the leadership of the Government of Kenya, and particularly their very impressive national commitment to a green, inclusive and resilient economic transition. It really does demonstrate Kenya as an international role model. I want to also recognise Her Excellency the First Lady, whose championing of the clean cooking initiatives has elevated this particular agenda across Kenya and across the continent. Awareness and knowledge is the first step to change. The United Kingdom and Kenya share a forward-looking partnership grounded in climate ambition, green growth, and above all, practical delivery. We're working together to advance policy reforms, mobilise new critical investments, and we're seeking to turbocharge the technologies and the markets needed for a low-carbon and climate-resilient future. Kenya's success in generating more than 90% of its electricity from renewable sources really is quite a remarkable achievement. It's comparable with the performance of countries like Scotland, where I've been living for the past 12 years, or Norway, and both are big hitters on clean energy, clean green energy. And like Kenya, they too are beautiful countries with so much environmental richness to protect, while serving their populations and supporting economic growth, including in the most remote and difficult to reach areas. Kenya's choices and actions have impact beyond the country's borders. It demonstrates what Africa's green industrialization can.
Vision, investment and partnership all come together. With clean power progressing so well as one pillar of the transition, clean cooking logically must come next. Across Africa and here in Kenya, most households and institutions still rely on firewood and charcoal, and this has consequences that we're all aware of. Deforestation are some of those consequences. As well as managing those concerning risks, clean cooking must also be seen as an industrial and an investment opportunity. Kenya's institutional kitchens across education, health and correctional facilities represent one of the most powerful concentrated entry points. They create large, aggregated and predictable energy demand. So shifting them from firewood and charcoal to electric, LPG, biogas or modern biomass solutions wouldn't only cut emissions and improve health, but it would also unlock sizable new markets, spur local manufacturing and create green jobs across the value chain. Today's launch of the Industrial Clean Cooking Sector Pack is therefore a key milestone on this journey to that ambition. I sincerely congratulate the Office aggregated demands from schools, hospitals and other institutions can generate bankable pipelines, they can attract blended finance, and they can stimulate locally manufactured technologies and fuels. In doing that, it then positions clean cooking firmly within Africa's broader green industrialization agenda, and it aligns with the goals of the Africa Green Industrialization Initiative and KICO to mobilize capital into high-impact green sectors, delivering climate and economic benefits. So, of course, we in the UK are delighted to be supporting this work. Under the Kenya-UK Strategic Partnership and through programmes like UK Partnering for Accelerated Climate Transitions, UK Pact, we're already working with national and county governments to strengthen energy planning and work with and improve policy frameworks and create the enabling environment that clean cooking markets need to be able to scale. The collective action of us all, government, investors, technology providers, development finance institutions and innovators to move together and quickly from strategy to implementation at scale is the obvious next step. So as we launch the Sector Pack today, I encourage every stakeholder here to see this not just as a technical document, but as a call to action, a call to unlock capital, a call to build local industries, and a call to bring clean energy solutions to every institution and every community across Kenya and beyond across Africa. Together we can transform Kenya on its green industrialization journey, learning from it as we test those new approaches. Thank you. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana.
Today to address these matters. We, and me being the team leader, Makueni, are listening to these things. Preach to acquire. These are the things we have done through UK Pact on the energy plan, energy policy, forest restoration action plan, county environment plan. And with the current statistics and what you have read, we have no choice. We should speak to this a little more. I just want to make one or two remarks on this matter so that we can bring this to greater perspective. In 2019, when the Deputy President and I were in the Senate, we came and passed the Energy Act that allows then counties, as the consumers of renewable energy and clean cooking, to pass the energy plans which will be integrated into national energy plan. That has not worked well. We need to work a little faster. Makueni has already done it. In Makueni, we have one principle which I lead. We are prepared to pilot anything, including piloting. Yes, and even this statistics in Makueni alone, I cringe. I have a robust environmental concerns. We are leading in the Lower Eastern region, 13% forest cover, but we are consuming 26 tons of firewood. In the institutions we are talking about, that is schools, 900 schools, secondary, 1,200 public, 63 vocational training centers, 241 health facilities. And at the same time, trying to preserve the forest, and people are consuming firewood. So when I sit here, I think, and looking at the map presented by Elizabeth, I know what we are talking about. So we are in the correct place. I'm here to sign a memorandum of understanding on these matters, and I hope all of us can pick up these issues and think about what I am saying, and let me bring this to reality. You know, sometimes we use large acronyms and it gets confusing. Who cooks in the community? It's actually a question you're supposed to answer. And it's not the men I'm asking. It's the women. Who fetches firewood? Talk about clean cooking, we are protecting the mothers of this country who are the fulcrum of the families. I want to support the women. Thank you.
I'm honored to join you today in this forum in Nairobi, the environmental capital of the world, by virtue of hosting the UN headquarters on environment. Baraza.
Observed, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is an honor to join you today at the 4th edition of the Kenya International Investment Conference. I welcome you all to Kenya. This year's theme, Unlocking Investment Opportunities to Drive Kenya's Transformation, speaks directly to our collective ambition to build a future where economic growth is inclusive, sustainable, and resilient. I commend the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investments through the is not just an opportunity, but an imperative fact requiring a conducive policy environment that encourages innovation, attracts investments, and ensures equitable resource use. Creating an enabling policy and regulatory environment is fundamental to unlocking the full potential of the circular economy. It involves designing forward-thinking laws, incentives, and standards that stimulate private sector participation, facilitate sustainable waste management practices, and promote the reuse, recycling, and repurposing of materials. By strengthening policy, coherence, and regulatory certainty, we can accelerate the shift towards a resilient, resource-efficient economy. Similarly, scaling up clean energy innovations can drive industrial growth while safeguarding human health and the environment. In supporting investment, the ministry has made significant strides in strengthening the policy and regulatory frameworks for the circular economy transition. The country has enacted comprehensive laws and policies which include the MCA, the National Waste Management Policy, the Sustainable Waste Management Act, Extended Producer Responsibility Regulations, Climate Change Act, climate change regulations that include the carbon markets, carbon trading, carbon registry, county-level waste management plans, growing enforcement against illegal dumping and open burning. Ladies and gentlemen, these policies composting and biofertilizer products, circular industrial parks, and digital platforms for waste traceability and EPR compliance, among others. Globally, circular models are unlocking billions of dollars in value, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and building resilient supply chains. Kenya is at the forefront of this transition in Africa. Let us set a regional benchmark. Be deliberate in identifying investors and facilitators who will be driving economies within the circular economy space, de-risk investments, enhance Equally, advancing clean cooking solutions presents a vital opportunity to improve public health, reduce environmental degradation, and promote energy access for all Kenyans. By fostering what is required now is capital, confidence, and commitment. The opportunity is significant. Predictable demand, scalable business models, alignment with climate and sustainability priorities, and returns that are financial, social, and environmental. I urge investors to identify
participate in this very important event. I never knew when I joined politics, I didn't know that I'll miss my days in my previous life as an academic. So events like this ones are very nostalgic. They remind me of the good old days when I used to speak about fine things every day. I still do, but sometimes the things that politicians do are not as fine as we want them to be. Excellencies, distinguished leaders from public sector, private sector, diplomatic community, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm honored to be here today, and I bring you greetings from the President of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto, himself a very strong advocate great disruptions and reorganization of supply chains around the world. Climate commitments are reshaping industry. Investors are looking for destinations that combine sustainability, competitiveness, and long-term growth. And in this emerging global order, we see this as Africa's moment. Africa today
and geothermal resources capable of powering large-scale clean industrial development. Number 2, abundant critical minerals essential for the global energy transition, including cobalt, lithium, manganese, platinum, and rare earth elements required for batteries, electric vehicles, and renewable technologies. Number 3, Africa is expanding its regional market and integrating it, driven by the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is creating a single market of 1.4 billion people and a GDP combined of around 3 trillion US dollars. And lastly, Africa has the world's youngest and fastest growing workforce, providing the talent, innovation, low in Africa. Although Africa holds nearly 40% of the world's renewable energy potential, the continent has received only about 2% of global renewable energy investment over the past 1 decade. Correcting this imbalance is a climate imperative. It is also an investment opportunity of this generation. Africa leaders have already charted the path forward through the Nairobi Declaration on Climate Change that took place in this city in 2023 during the Africa Climate Summit. The continent articulated a bold and practical vision for climate positive growth. The declaration recognizes that while Africa contributes the least to global emissions, it faces some of the most severe climate impacts. At the same time, the transition to a low carbon global economy presents a historic opportunity for Africa to industrialize sustainably. It therefore sets an ambitious goal to scale Africa's renewable energy capacity from 56 gigawatts today. I think we got a higher figure from the experts, slightly higher, I think it was 67. That shows you I was following. To at least 300 gigawatts powering industries, manufacturing, and economic transformation across the continent. This is not simply an energy transition, it is a clean energy-powered industrial revolution. Kenya is proud to play a central role in advancing this continental vision. Today, 93% is Kenya among the world's leaders in clean energy. For investors seeking to build low-carbon manufacturing platforms, Kenya offers a compelling proposition. Our strategic location, anchored by the port of Mombasa and the Northern Corridor, provides connectivity to regional markets across East and Central Africa. Combined with a young, skilled workforce and steadily improving infrastructure, Kenya offers investors a competitive gateway into Africa's green industrial economy. To translate this opportunity into action, the Africa Green Industrialization Initiative was designed as a continental delivery platform that moves us beyond declarations into implementation by developing bankable investment pipelines across sectors that will define the green economy of the future. I want just to highlight scaling solar, wind, geothermal, and hydropower while strengthening transmission, and regional power systems to support industrial growth. The second sector is in critical minerals and value addition. Supporting the transition to electric transport through vehicle manufacturing, battery technologies, and charging infrastructure. 5, clean cooking solutions, expanding access to modern and affordable cooking technologies that provide health outcomes and reduce environmental pressure. Number 6, circular economy industries, investing in recycling, waste management, and resource-efficient production. Developing alternative fuels such as green hydrogen and sustainable aviation fuels to decarbonize global transport. Together, these sectors represent transformational investment opportunities capable of generating millions of jobs while accelerating global decarbonization. And therefore, as Government of Kenya, KJET project, where we are investing $40 million US, equivalent of 5 billion shillings, to de-risk private sector investments in these areas and to crowd in more investment from private sector to promote clean industrialization while creating jobs and empowering the people of Kenya. And at the same time, Africa as a strategic green investment opportunity. This is particularly true in institutional clean cooking, a long overlooked subsector despite its scale and aggregated demand across schools, hospitals, and correctional facilities. Under the leadership of His Excellency President Ruto, Kenya has committed to achieving universal access to clean cooking by 2028. Including the transition of public institutions, especially schools, to modern cooking solutions, sending a strong and clear signal to investors and partners. Achieving this transformation, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, will require significant investment. The global transition to low-carbon economy is estimated to require between $4 to $6 trillion annually. Africa must capture a meaningful share of its capital. As governments, our responsibility is clear to provide policy clarity, regulatory certainty, and you've heard from the minister what we are doing in that space, and credible project pipelines. Development finance institutions must deploy blended finance. I think this has been spoken to before by previous speakers, and risk mitigation instruments, while the private sector must step forward as the primary driver of innovation and investment. Investors today are not looking for aspirations, they are looking for credible projects, structured pipelines, and reliable partnerships. The AGII Forum therefore focuses on translating ideas into bankable opportunities and facilitating real transactions across clean energy, sustainable industries, and green value chains. In this regard, I am pleased to note that today we are launching the Institutional Clean Cooking Investment Sector PAC, which moves us from ambition to clearly defined investment pipeline. Kenya's National Cooking Transition Strategy estimates that approximately $430 million is required to achieve universal access to clean cooking at the household level. We are also unveiling a Burn Manufacturing Electric Cook Stove, a flagship example of how innovation, manufacturing, and clean energy can come together to deliver affordable electric cooking solutions at scale. In addition, we are presenting a circular economy investment prospectus, highlighting the opportunities in recycling waste, management, and resource-efficient industries that can create jobs while reducing environmental impact. These demonstrate that Africa's green industrial transition is not theoretical, it is practical, investable, and is already underway. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the transition to green global economy is inevitable. The only question before us is where the industries of the future will be built. As a country, Kenya is ready to work with partners across Africa and around the world to unlock this extraordinary potential and opportunity. Together, let us transform Africa into a globally competitive hub for sustainable manufacturing and green innovation. Let us ensure that the next chapter of global industrialization is written in Africa and powered by Africa's green energy. Ladies and gentlemen, before I exit the stage, let me just summarize what I have said in one sentence, which is that about one generation ago, a huge transformation took place, and a paradigm shift took place around the globe, powered by globalization and its antecedents. That is 30, 40 years ago. The next 40 years will not be defined by globalization, neither will they be influenced by globalization and its antecedents, because globalization is behind us. They will be defined by other drivers. And those three drivers into the future are: one, the people. Everything we do, the investments we make, the policy decisions we make must be centered around the people. I'm trying to convert Mutula Kilonso's political statement into science. Every decision we make, every intervention we make must be centered around the people and transforming their lives, empowering them, and the people in their diversity and in their inclusivity, including women, the youth, and everybody else in between. Number two, the future of the world, the next generation, besides the people, the other driver of a new future is going to be technology. And that's where today's discussion comes in. We must move into technologies that help us harness today's challenges and create a more sustainable world into the next generation. So technology across board, and therefore the energy transition, for example, is part of that technological shift. Digitalization and the move from the physical to the digital is going to be another technology issue around the future of the world. The third and last driver, besides the people and technology, is going to be partnerships. The public sector driven reform and public sector driven change is not going to be tenable in the future for various reasons. That the public sector around the world does not have all the ideas that we need to define our future. So we need extra ideas from the private sector. The public sector does not have all the resources that we require to transform the world into a better world. And therefore, we will need to tap into investments and private sector capital. And the only way to blend the ideas of the public sector, the resources of the public sector with those of the private sector is through initiatives like these ones. And that's why, for us in Kenya, we are very keen on public-private partnerships that are going to define our world into the future, including areas where it was thought that it was government space in terms of infrastructure, including energy infrastructure. We don't have enough ideas. We don't have enough resources. We need to partner with private sector and allow private sector to put in their money and their ideas, de-risk the private sector's investments, and that's why we are putting $40 million in KJET, but we want to crowd in maybe 10 times, 20 times, 30 times resources in terms of resources from the private sector. So in a nutshell, 1 generation from now, Africa, the place of Africa in the global economy a generation from now will be defined by what measures we take and how fast we hook into the drivers of the future. And these drivers are the people, technology, and partnerships. Thank you and have a good morning.
Asante sana. Your Excellency, I'll ask that you stay with me on stage, Your Excellency Deputy President. And as we move things around, you may have your seats because we're getting to a very integral point. Your Excellency, stay with me. Your Excellency, you're with me. Please don't run away. I'm telling the rest. For you, you need to update my LinkedIn profile because I need to take a picture. So for those at the back, please make it chappy because I need this picture for my LinkedIn, but it's also just to give good time for this because we're getting to a momentous occasion where we've talked about it. You may have your seats, ladies and gentlemen. You will be standing as he exits, but we are getting to a very important milestone, which is the signing of an MOU between the county government of Makueni, and we have Governor here, you'll take one seat, as well as CLASP. And I'll call on Emmanuel Aziebor, who is the Senior Director Africa for CLASP, to be here for this momentous occasion as we sign, and it was witnessed by His Excellency the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, as they sign this particular agreement and MOU. Let me just give a bit of a context, and they're flanked, of course, by their representatives from the county government and as well from CLASP, and also the legal department, and making sure that everything is aligned. So, in terms of the importance of what we are signing here today, just before Bonamtula, you think you're signing your life away, this is what you're signing to. Now, of course, you were briefed about this. This is a momentous occasion where we're moving from this is a reflection on our commitment to move from plans to implementation. Now, we will witness the signing of partnership of MOU between the government of Makueni County and CLASP that is represented there, aimed at accelerating the transition of public institutions to clean cooking solutions. Now, this partnership demonstrates the power of collaboration between county governments and development partners in unlocking real projects and real impact on the ground. I now invite the respective representatives from Governor from Makueni County as well as representative from CLASP to sign, and then they will have an opportunity to stand up and exchange the agreement and take a picture. Asante sana. Now let's, as they stand up and exchange the MOU agreement that is signed, let's give them a hand as well as they exchange this. And smile for the camera right there as we take the picture to mark this particular point where we are moving from plans to implementation. Asante sana. And yes, you may have your seats now. And we move to another, to Deputy President Utabaki na sisi on stage for the next momentous occasion where we would want to launch the institutional clean cooking sector pack. I believe, yes, Bonamtula, you may have your seat, and also the representation from CLASP, you may have your seat after you're content with the picture that you've taken. And now we can have our seats. And Deputy President, you'll still be on stage with me for the next momentous occasion where we are launching the institutional clean cooking sector pack. And for this, I will call on several stakeholders just to be represented and also to take a picture for this particular moment. And for this, also joining on stage, joining the Deputy President, I'll call on Ambassador Ali to join on stage, and as well as Diana Dalton from the British High Commission. Please join us on stage. If PS Alex Washira from the State Department of Energy is in the house, please join us for this picture. CS Deborah Baraza, please join us for this picture as well. And the Noura Hamlaji, the Deputy Regional Director for UNDP Regional Bureau for Africa, please join us on stage. We have the Office of the Deputy President representative who's guiding us on the arrangement of this particular picture. So Noura Hamlaji, the Deputy Regional Director for UNDP Regional Bureau for Africa. Dimfna van der Lans, I hope I haven't baptized you, CEO, Clean Cooking Alliance. Please join us for that picture. And John Leary, Senior Researcher, Modern Energy Cooking Services. Please join us for this picture as well. And Benson Ireri, Head of Clean Cooking Delivery Office of the Special Envoy for Climate Change. Join us as well for this picture. And I'll be calling as well on the other sector-specific PSs for the next launch. But this particular one is on the institutional clean cooking sector pack. Now, I will give it a count from 3, 2, 1, and the Deputy President will press the remote, which will then reveal this particular prospectus that is being launched today. And as he presses that, so let's do it together, and let's go from the count of 3, 2, 1, and when we get to 1, he will press it. So, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, the Institutional Clean Cooking Sector Pack. The first Institutional Clean Cooking Sector Pack, a groundbreaking document that transforms clean cooking from a development challenge into a clear investment-ready opportunity. Now, it aggregates demand across schools, hospitals, and correctional facilities and presents a pipeline of projects valued at approximately $589 million. This is a critical step in moving from ambition to bankable deals and real impact as we take this particular picture. And that is now what we have launched, the Institutional Clean Cooking Sector Pack. Asante sana. If you're good with the picture, you can give me a thumbs up, and we may have a seat saved for the Deputy President, Ambassador Ali as well, and PS Abubakar Utabaki.